الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته ومنتهى علمه وجميع ما شاء وخلق وبرأ علم الغيب وشهادة الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون أما بعد فيقول الله تعالى في كتابه يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. ويقول الله تعالى في كتابه محمد رسول الله والذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم. ويقول الله تعالى في سورة آل عمران كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون. تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. الحمد لله. We thank and we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything. Everything. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the good and the bad. As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam informed us, Ajaban li amril mu'min. The affair of the believer, the matter of the believer is amazing. It's ajib. Everything for him is khair. Everything for him is good. Everything for who? The believer. good. And this is the case for nobody else except al-mu'min, the believer. If something pleasant, good happens to him, he's thankful. Therefore, that's good for him. If something bad, a misfortune, happens to him, he's patient. Therefore, that's Therefore, that's good for him. It's happening every week. So that's good for him. During this time in which we're living now, new things aren't necessarily happening. New things are not happening. It's the same old program. Police officers and non-police officers killing black people in America with impunity. This is not new. In fact, if you do the history of the police officer and the police department in this country, its origins go back to the slave patrols. During the time of slavery in this country, the slave catchers would roam the streets and roam, the roads to catch slaves who didn't have their proper papers from their so-called masters. And they would bring them back to their slave owners or what have you. So the police in this country go back to the slave catchers during slavery. So when you go back to the intent and the purpose of the establishment of the police department, its origins, the reason why they exist is to oppress and subjugate black people. And killing us has always been part of the job. So when people talk about the system has to be reformed, no, the system is the problem. The system has to be replaced. The system is doing exactly what it was created to do. So the system is working just fine. You just misunderstand the system. You think the system is broken. No, the system is a well-oiled machine, doing what it's supposed to do. We said that is nothing new. The only thing that is new is that everybody is walking around with a camera in their pocket. Everyone has a cell phone. All of these cell phones have cameras. Even some of our children who can't even read and write, they have a cell phone. And they're able to not only take pictures, but make movies. So 9 times out of 10, if you're out of your home, and even if you're in your home, if you're out of your home, you're on somebody's camera. If you're committing a crime, somebody got you on camera. If you're minding your business, someone got you on camera. You may not even realize that they're taking your picture. They can have their phone like this, you think they're talking, but they're actually taking your picture. They're like this, taking your picture. So what you're seeing now is not something that's new. It's not something that's on the rise. It's always been there. But now it's made plain for everyone to see. What's the good thing that has come out of this? Especially for the Muslims. I don't know if you guys knew it or not, but Islam, the way of life that we practice, that the word that we call a religion, for lack of better words, it's not a religion. Islam is not a religion, but because of the limitation of languages, we use the word religion in English for Islam. It's a complete way of life. The Islamic way of life is not a racist way of life. Just in case you didn't know. But Muslims, those who practice Islam, are human beings, and none of us are perfect. So you find racism amongst the Muslims, even though Islam is not a racist religion. I repeat, you find racism among Muslims, even though Islam is not a racist religion or a racist way of life. There are some people who are trying to change and corrupt the Islamic way of life, the Islamic religion, and introduce racist elements into it. But Allah had promised us something that He didn't promise any other prophet or any other nation before, that He will protect His book, the Quran. So the same Quran that was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ is what we have today. Same exact one. Not one letter, not one vowel has been changed. And this is what our way of life is based upon. So because of this modern climate, now everyone, individuals, businesses, governments, everyone is speaking against anti-black racism, including some Muslims who are themselves racist. You can't log on to your online banking or go to your website or go to pay a bill to not see two disclaimers: what they're doing about COVID-19 and how they're against racism, against black people. If you paid attention, anytime you log on somewhere, what we doing about COVID-19? We stand against oppression against black people. Two disclaimers. Even though most of those people who make these disclaimers have practices and policies that adversely affect black people, including some Muslim communities. If I ask anyone who hears my voice, if I were to ask you, name for me as many black companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as you can, I'm pretty sure all of us, including myself, can only name one. But even if we can name more than one, the first one is Bilal. The first one we would think of is Bilal. And then we have to stop, because what you and I understand to be black is not necessarily what the people around the world, Muslims and non-Muslims, understood to be black during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'll give you an example. In the Hadith that you can find in Sahih Muslim, in various chapters, like the book or the chapter of Tahara or the chapter of prayer in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ mentions certain characteristics, special gifts that he was given by Allah that wasn't given to no other prophet. And in some of these narrations, like you heard the hadith, like for example, the whole earth was made for him a place of prayer and purification. Like you don't only have to pray in the masjid. You can pray anywhere. Or if you don't have water, you can make tayammum to purify yourself. That's a special gift. Bani Israel, they had to pray in their synagogues. They couldn't pray anywhere like we can. Myself and a brother a few days ago was looking at the commentary of a verse where Allah commanded Prophet Musa to tell the people to pray in their homes. Because that was different. That wasn't their norm. Because they, according to their law, they had to pray in their synagogues. But Fir'aun had destroyed all of their synagogues. So Allah gave them a rukhsah, a dispensation to pray in their homes. Another one of the special gifts that Allah gave Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that he said that he was sent to the Aswad wa Ahmar. He was sent, if I translate it literally, to the black and the red. In other words, he was sent to black and red people. If you know Arabic, whenever Allah or His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, referred to red people, he's not talking about red people or Native Americans. He's talking about white people. They didn't use the color white for white people. They used red for white people. And some of the scholars of Arabic language says because of the redness in their color. Like, you know, like, for example, when they blush, they turn red. The color white was used for white or black people who had a radiant complexion. So even when you read those hadith that say, for example, there's no superiority of a black over a white, if you read the Arabic, the color that's being used is red. But everybody that knows basic Arabic knows it's referring to white people. So going back to the special characteristics, the special qualities that the Prophet ﷺ was sent with, when he said, I was sent to the black and the white, when you look at all of the commentary of that hadith, for example, I said the hadith you can find in Sahih Muslim. If you go to Imam Nawawi's Sharh Muslim, the commentary on Sahih Muslim, when you get to the commentary of this hadith, he's going to explain to you that the black here in this hadith includes the Arabs because most of their skin color was black. If you go to Qadi Iyad's book, Ash-Shifa, the healing, Bi-Ta'rif Huquq al-Mustafa, by recognizing the rights of the chosen one, a whole nice, beautiful book about the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, he says the same thing when he mentions this hadith. So, we learn from hadith and its commentary that the average Arab during the time of the Prophet ﷺ would be considered black by our standards. So when we talk about black, we have to define. I said most of us will think of black Sahaba, we think of only Bilal. When you read in Arabic, Bilal's physical characteristic as it relates to skin color, he is described as Adam Shadid Udman, extremely dark or black complexion, like Adam, like the prophet Adam. A lot of y'all didn't know that means black. Adam Shadid Udman. When you read Ali ibn Abi Talib, his physical characteristic as it relates to his skin color, Ali is pure Arab blood, Hashimi, first cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How is he described? Adam Shadid Udma, exactly the same as Bilal. Wait a minute. Everybody knows that Bilal was extremely dark-skinned, and that was expressed a certain way in Arabic. Ali, the first cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, described the exact same way. So Bilal and Ali had the exact same skin complexion. One was Habashi, one was pure Arab. So you could see an example, the way we understand black and the way they understood black, two different ways. So if Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, wa karamallahu wajhahu, and most of the companions were in front of us right now, we would just consider them black people. Even though back at that time they wouldn't be considered black because of their skin complexion. So I asked you, how many companions could you name? Most of us can only name Bilal. And there were a whole lot more than Bilal. And so, in our time, Bilal has become the token black person. So a lot of times when people want to prove, even though they may be racist, but they want to prove that they're not racist or that Islam is not racist, they say, Bilal, he was Muslim, he was a Sahaba, and we love Bilal. And a lot of us who are aware of this, tokenism, we go to the other extreme. And this is what I don't want us to do. As we become awakened, I don't want you to shy away from Bilal because he's been used for all of these decades as a token black person. No, don't do that. Don't say, oh, just Bilal. Well, what about this one and that one and that one? Don't do that. Because if you gloss over Bilal and he's just a token in your mind, you'll miss a jewel. And you'll miss a major lesson. See, even though Bilal may have been tokenized, he is not a token. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wa afdalu salatu wa tamu taslim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa radiyallahu ta'ala an sadat al-tabi'in wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arba'at al-mujtahidin wa muqaridin ila yawm al-din. Amma ba'd. Bilal ibn Abi Rabah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he wasn't a token black person. In fact, if you pay attention to what he represented. His relationship to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How he came into Islam. And how Allah elevated him. You can look at Bilal. When I say you, I'm talking about all Muslims, regardless of what background you come from. You can look at Bilal as the template, the blueprint to deal with racism. He wasn't just there for the face of it. And you know, some of my best friends are black. Just like an old school saying, you know, like if somebody would accuse back in the day a white person of being racist, he'd be like, hey, you know, some of my best friends are black. I'm not racist. Even though I denied you the job because you were black and gave the job to someone who had less credentials and less ability to do the job, but some of my best friends are black. So that's like a sarcastic, you know, old school saying. Muslims do the same thing. You know, some of the best Muslims were black. Look at Bilal. It goes deeper than that. Bilal is described as having a pure heart by the Sahaba. Bilal entered Islam very early on. Very early on. And a lot of you know that Bilal was oppressed. A lot of you seen the movies and the depiction of him being taken out to the middle of the Arabian desert in the middle of the day. You know, the middle of the day is the hottest part of the day. And a big boulder, a big huge rock was set on his chest. And his slave master, because he was a slave, Umayyah bin Khalaf, would say, renounce Muhammad, renounce this new religion, and go back to the worship of Latin Uzza. And sometimes he would say, just give me one word. And Bilal gave him one word, Ahad. And that's beautiful if you consider the Arabic language. Because later on he was asked by the Sahaba, what made you say that phrase, Ahad? Why didn't you say like La ilaha illallah or something like that? What made you choose Ahad? And he said, I wanted to make him mad. Like he wasn't just like some lowly, extra humble, no, the depiction is all wrong. He was being smart with him. He wanted to anger him. So he said, you ain't got to say a whole lot, just give me one word and I'll take this punishment off of you. Oh, you want one word? Ahad. Ahad. And the people would walk past him and they would say, either he's going to die or he's going to break. Nobody can deal with this type of punishment. He never broke. Brothers, can you move up a little bit? We got space up here. Abu Bakr, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Remember, he said Bilal is a blueprint. He represents a methodology that we can adopt and modernize to deal with racism. Abu Bakr walked by one time and said something to Umayyah. He said, man, why don't you just leave him alone, man? Like come on, what do you want? Just stop it. Umayyah said, you're the one who corrupted him. In other words, it's you Muslims, you uppity Arabs that has gotten and corrupted the minds of our lowly Negroes here. He said, if Bilal is all that important to you, why don't you buy him then? And Abu Bakr said, that ain't nothing but a word. How much? And Abu Bakr said, I have a slave, and he's stronger than Bilal. So they made the exchange. Umayyah said, man, if you would have talked me down, you could have gotten Bilal for a cheaper price. Abu Bakr said, You could have talked me up and I would have paid a higher price. Like, you ain't saying nothing. And so they would say about Abu Bakr and Bilal later on, they would say that our master freed our master. Our master freed our master. Bilal, is he just a regular Muslim? Just, oh, he's our token Muslim. Hey, you know, we're not racist. Look, Bilal. Bilal is the Khazin. He's the treasurer. He's the one who's in charge of the Baytul Mal. Bilal. Bilal is the Sayyid of the Mu'adhins. He was the first one to call the Adhan. A lot of people think Bilal was the only Mu'adhin. He wasn't the only Mu'adhin. Abdullah ibn Maktoum, for example, was also a Mu'adhin. You know, the blind man. Another very important Sahaba. He was also the Mu'adhin. In Medina, sometimes they would have more than one Adhan. One Adhan, especially in the early morning for Fajr prayer. The same Mu'adhin wouldn't be calling both of them. They would recognize what time it was by who called the Adhan. Bilal was only one of them, but he was the first. Bilal was a blueprint, a pattern. It took the Muslims, like Abu Bakr, the people who had a little bit more position and a little bit more rank in the society, to liberate Bilal from physical servitude. That's a hint. How many people are doing this? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't tokenize him. He had a real position in the community. When Mecca was conquered, Abu Sufyan, who had been fighting the Muslims for a long time, he's now Muslim. Agreements have been made. The Sahaba are still in Mecca. Abu Sufyan is a new Muslim. He just took y'all the day before, one day earlier. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells Bilal to call the Adhan. On the ground? No. Go climb on top of the Kaaba and call the Adhan. Could have called it from the ground. No. Climb on top of the Kaaba and call the Adhan. Some of the new Muslims saw that. They began talking. Abu Sufyan is in the conversation. One of them said, thank God our forefathers ain't alive to see this black crow standing up here calling the Adhan. Abu Sufyan said, I'm not commenting on what you said. Maybe Allah might reveal something about us, and I don't want that. Angel Jibril came and told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about what they said. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam called them and asked them, did you all say such and such and so and so? And they admitted to it. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited this verse. Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَىٰ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِندَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ خَبِيرٌ. We created you from a male and a female, and we made you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. Indeed, the most honorable of you to Allah is he who has the most taqwa. And Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. From Surah Hujurat, verse number 13. We know that verse. We've heard that verse. How many of us have ever heard that verse being used the way the Prophet ﷺ used it? It's not the skin color. It's the taqwa. So that verse has been connected to anti-black racism by the Prophet ﷺ himself. This is why we said Bilal is the pattern. He's not a token. Don't tokenize him on one hand and don't ignore him on the other hand as a knee-jerk response because he's been tokenized. A lot of us still don't get it. You know, some of us can be racist in our racism. Not that way. Some of us can be racist in our desire not to be racist. I'm going to give you an example. I was on the way here a couple of weeks ago, on the way to a meeting here. And I got a call from a good brother. I don't believe this brother is intentionally racist. I love him and I believe he's a very good brother. He's in a position of authority in another masjid. He said, Imam, we trying to have a meeting. We trying to have a meeting with the interfaith meeting with the other masjids and, you know, other faith leaders against, you know, this racism that we're seeing here. And we would like you to be a part of the meeting. I said, cool, alhamdulillah. When is it? In 30 minutes. I'm on the way to a meeting. And we don't have any black people that's a part of the gathering so far. So wait a minute. You want to put out a press release, or you want to put out a statement against anti-black racism, but racism is so embedded in your psyche that you didn't even realize that there was no black people included in the planning of the meeting. And black people were just an afterthought. Oh, about just 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the meeting. That was actually an insult, even though I don't think he meant to insult me. So if I was able to participate, I would have been that black token. See, we got black Muslims, black Muslims, I would have been the token. So much so that masters have put out statements, we're against racism, such and such. No black people on their boards. Black people go to their masjids. A lot of y'all don't come here, not you sitting here, but a lot of y'all don't come here. Y'all go to the other masjids. Y'all sitting there every week. You're not part of the governing body. You don't make no decisions. You may say, well, I know that masjid, they got like one black person. Yeah, he got one black. The token. He's a token. So we'll get together, we'll put out a collective Islamic statement against anti-black racism, and all the masjids that come together for this collective statement against anti-black racism. Not one masjid is a black masjid. In this city. Masjid An-Nur is not there. Masjid Mukmin ain't there. Nur Zaman is not there. Masjid Owl's not there. None of them. So even in the anti-black racist statement is racism. Bilal was not a token. He was a real part of the Muslim community. And brothers and sisters, do not allow yourself to be a token. Call it out. You're not sinful for calling out racism. They may not realize it. Teach them. You just going along singing kumbayas and ancient is not helping them. It's not teaching them. You just offended and then just go away offended, then you come back here and complain about it. No, don't do that. Tell them. They don't recognize what they're doing, a lot of them. Some of them do recognize. I'm not naive. I know some of them do recognize. But a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't recognize. Don't be the token. Bilal was not a token. He represents the blueprint. The blueprint. That's why I mentioned those other verses in the beginning. Kuntum khayran ummatun ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best ummah ever brought out for mankind. And the consensus of opinion with regards to that part of the verse is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking explicitly about the companions. A lot of us think, well, that's all of us Muslims. No, maybe not. But we know for sure it's talking about the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 100% ijma consensus. That's what it's about. What made them so great? They enjoin, command what is right, and they forbid what is wrong, and they believe in Allah. They're the best example. Tokenism is not going to work. You're just going to push the issue under the rug, and then we have to have Juma khutbahs like this, which to many of you seem extreme. Why we got to keep talking about this? We already know. No, we don't. Because if we knew, I wouldn't be able to say what I'm saying. I wouldn't be able to give you an example of what I'm talking about. We don't know. And we're supposed to provide medicine. We're supposed to provide cures. When you're sick, that means something is out of whack, out of balance. And the cure for every illah, bididdiha, is in its opposite. Every cure, whether it's a physical ailment or a spiritual ailment. If your body has an abundance of too much cold properties, the medicine has to have an abundance of hot properties to counteract those cold properties. If you brought into a version of so-called Islam that's really white supremacist, you have to bring about a balance. You have to tell the truth, and you have to emphasize those things that are not white, that are black. Because you're out of whack. You watch movies where black Sahaba are depicted as white. You read hadith that describe the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as white. And it's not saying that in Arabic. And it don't mean that in Arabic. But that's the way it was translated. Was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as dark as Bilal and Ali? No. At best, he was like a tan complexion. And really, if you look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's a perfect man. He's exactly in the middle. He wasn't pale, he wasn't dark, he wasn't too tall, he wasn't too short. He was perfect. So he had that right in the middle. So we have to bring about balance. We have to bring about the balance. And this is the reason why I talk the way I do. I'm trying to bring about balance. And don't think I'm attacking non-black people. A lot of times I'm talking to black people. Because we have this self-hate thing. Really, this self-hate. Why is it self-hate? Because Allah created you a certain way, and you're not satisfied the way Allah created you. If Allah made you white, you shouldn't feel guilty that you're white. You didn't have nothing to do with it. Allah created you that way. If Allah made you born in a certain country, you shouldn't feel inferior or superior because of that. Allah created you that way. You didn't have nothing to do with it. So this is not some, black supremacists. Even that thing don't even exist. But people, we don't want to be black supremacists. No, shut up. We're trying to bring about balance. And to be displeased or unhappy or unsatisfied with the characteristic that Allah created you with, you ain't have nothing to do with it, that's sinful. So however Allah created you, you should be pleased with that. Why? Because Allah is Al-Khaliq. He created you that way. And Allah is the best of those who create. He's Musawwir. He's the fashioner. He fashioned you that way. Who is someone else to put you down for the way Allah created you? So when people put you or me or we put ourselves down, who are you really upset with? Are you upset with the art or the artist? Or are you upset with the creator, the creation, or the creator? That's the real question. And so none of us should think we're better than anyone else. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and we already mentioned it, the most honorable of you, indallah, to Allah, atqakum, is the one who has the most taqwa. And taqwa don't have nothing to do with black or white or brown or anything else. Taqwa has something to do with the heart and how you obey Allah and how you stay away from His disobedience and how you avoid sin. That's taqwa. And you could be white, brown, black, or anything in between and have taqwa. Your skin color, your melanin or lack thereof is not going to bring you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's your taqwa. But our color comes into play when we deal with amongst each other. And so when you look at Bilal, don't look at Bilal as a token. And don't have that knee-jerk opposite reaction. You want to ignore Bilal because you think he was just a token. No. The Prophet ﷺ elevated him. And made him call the people to the prayer. And made the people who hated it deal with it. He was not a token. He was one of the masters of the Sahaba. Radiallahu ta'ala anhu. وَبَلَتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسْنًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسْنًا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ.